Hey everyone, Alec Tackmann here. We're talking about Go and Practice Book 2. And we're going to do page 14, Rooftop Accents. Rooftop accents are kind of weird on drums. And I'm talking about when you see them written down. There's two ways you can usually interpret them. One way to do them is you think of it as just like a super accent. It's louder than normal accent. The other way is we got to do a rim shot. So typically in like a drumline setting, the rooftop accent is going to mean a rim shot, but not always. Sometimes they use an X note head. So for you to like know which one should I do, if you're in a school or band setting, you just ask who's in charge. Your band director, your drum coach, whatever. They'll let you know what interpretation they seem to want. If you're in like a concert band setting though, usually it's just going to mean like a really loud accent. If they want a rim shot in that setting, usually they'll write it on there because they're pretty rare. Like percussion notation is weird. It's kind of an afterthought, and we have to make do with kind of what was already on the market as far as like putting notes on a staff. Drums are just kind of strange in that way. So the two big interpretations though are like think of it as a louder accent or think of it as a rim shot, and you want to be good at doing both ways and practice both ways. So for playing this exercise, what I'm going to do is for rim shots, I'm going to just kind of strike the stick flat and make that sound. But on a normal drum, of course, what you have to do is hit the head and the rim simultaneously. Now, in a school band setting, a lot of times when they first show you how to do a rim shot, they have you lay it down like that and then strike on top. That counts as a rim shot. In jazz settings, they actually do just the tip down and then not against the rim. That can also count as a rim shot. But for like, backbeat playing, or if you're trying to like crank something out in a rudimental passage, you just have to hit it. And it's really tricky to get that aim right. So let's talk about rim shots for a moment, doing it like that. You just have to practice and put in time doing that. At the beginning, you're probably going to have a pretty cruddy batting average on how many of them you get. But you just got to sit and just get your muscle memory used to whatever the angle is. If you sit and practice that, anyone else who's home probably thinks you're freaking out down there just smacking rim shots over and over. But it's just something you got to sit and get used to. And you might miss some. You hit the rim on accident. It's kind of a thing you just got to go for it. One way I think kind of helps people who are starting off get used to it is start with the stick like really sharply angled, so this one, and just hit it, and then we're going to gradually move it in until you feel the contact, and then suddenly you'll know the rim shot happens. So you just hit it over and over. And then when it wakes up, it goes crazy. So you got a rim shot when the stick doesn't rebound and it's 10 times louder. And the microphone and the camera here is probably freaking out. So, it's easy to miss, but just go for it. So let's check out some of the exercises here. So number one is pretty straightforward. If you're going to play it, let's do the rim shot one first because we just talked about it. So you're going to go. We're just focusing on that right hand, getting used to the different sounds. A snare drum is it's not a one-dimensional instrument. You can get a lot of different sounds out of it. So like this kind of stuff paired up with like the buzz roll stuff in the previous video, you can actually get a lot of cool sounds out of the snare drum. Number two brings in the left hand. Now for you learning traditional grip rim shots are tough. The name of the game here is you got to make that weak hand sound just like the other one. So go through all this stuff and get used to evenness right to left, and you can tell the difference between the accents and then the two interpretations of them. If we play number 2 the other way, this would be, you know, we'll call it the super accent way to do it. We got to make sure we can hear that contrast. So here's number 2 instead of Rimshot's loud accent. So normal. There's a difference there, so you want to be able to hear that. Now, in some settings, this is a rare occasion, but it'll happen. I usually will see this in, you know, orchestral concert music. You'll see like a staccato on the notes, which is like the little dot, and you'll see other strange articulations that usually apply to horn players or piano or whatever. These are, I think, like if you see a staccato, just think of it as like a tiny little accent. That again, you want to, you know, ask your director what interpretation they want. Sometimes people might want that as a dead stroke, which is you just leave it down. But if we have like a normal one, a staccato, maybe think of it as a tiny accent. Some people will argue and say, well, you should hold the stick tighter and get a more staccato sound. And I'm like, okay, fine, but if you're really blindfolded someone and ask them, I don't think you could hear the difference. It's just subtlety. You'll also see the one with the line over the top. I forget what that articulation is called right now, but staccato, the little line over the top, regular accent, the rooftop accent, all the different ways to interpret little spikes in volume randomly. Again, also you want to try these at all dynamic levels. Accents are always relative to what dynamic you're in. So we take number 2, play it in you know, piano or quiet. You want the accents to be loud, they got to stand out, but not be crazy. You know, if you're playing them in forte, same rules. Also consider the setting you're playing in. If you're playing just a snare solo for, you know, a couple people, you know, you don't want to destroy them with loud rim shots. So you want to maybe dial everything back a little bit. Say you're playing, you know, a halftime show somewhere. You know, you got everything to be, you want it to be heard. So you know, really dig in there. But yeah, rooftop accents, they can be tricky. They just add another dimension to your playing, though. Going through this page, I think will show you some cool little context to try this out. But yeah, if you're practicing the rooftop accents as a rim shot, though, do it on a real drum and just get used to doing that. When you're starting off, it kind of seems like one of those things that's not like impossible, but like just hard enough where you're like, oh, I'm gonna find a different way to do it. But don't. You just got to get used to it. It's a thing that normal drummers get used to playing, just cranking out rim shot. It's a part of playing. So anyway, if you got any questions on it, just let me know. But yeah, this is Go and Practice Book 2, the section on rooftop accents. Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.